Hello, everyone. Welcome to Small Biz Tips. So, this gentleman, I know him for now, oh God, 7 years? Oh my
Yeah.
God. And he is an amazing person to know, super resourceful. I've learned so much from this man. I had to bring him back in a podcast. Albert, what's up, man? How are you?
What's up, Gilbert? Looking good, my man.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, Albert, before we get the ball rolling, right? I'm sure the people want to know, people that's new to my channel, who is Albert? So let's start there.
Okay, so Albert is a 30 plus year business owner
Mm,
who made a pivot about 12 years ago
mm-hmm.
and got into the world of mergers and acquisitions. And it was the strangest thing. I never thought about going into this field. I never imagined I would do it, but it became a natural because in my
Mm-hmm.
career, I had made so many of the mistakes that I talk about and that I see out there in the merger and acquisition world. So I had businesses very early on. I was a
Yeah.
hotshot, as I think you know, and I left so much money on the table because I had no idea what I was doing.
Mm,
I knew how to sell, I knew how to grow, but beyond that, nobody really instructs you about, growing the business value versus growing the
yes.
business. I was focused on growing the business. So I very succinctly tell people what I ended up doing was creating a monster. I had this
Mm,
massive business that only I could control, nobody else.
wow.
And nobody would touch it because it was such a monster.
How big
I
was the
was
business?
not because of the business. The business was very good. I was in computers and consumer electronics,
Uh-huh.
high dollar item products, low
Okay.
margin, high volume. So
Gotcha.
my strategy was just sell more. Just
Yeah.
keep pumping, keep pumping. So my sales were incredible, but my margin never grew. And what
Mm,
was the key takeaway was when I went from about 3 million in sales to 5 million in sales,
mm-hmm.
my earnings went down.
That's not right.
That's not right.
Amen.
So, where and that's because I didn't focus on expenses. I didn't focus on the earnings. I was focused on the top line, the revenue.
Gotcha.
And I needed that revenue to support the merry-go-round of buying from vendors and keeping about 2 million
Yeah.
in inventory and rotating that. So all of those lessons I learned in my early 20s.
Wow.
So years later, I had kids and I wanted to be more involved in my kids' lives. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to get away from what I was doing, which was a wholesale distribution business. And in that process, I met up with Kensington. And in that
Yeah.
process, they came to me and they said, "Whoa, we never met anyone quite like you. Why don't you join us?" And my reaction, Gilbert, I swear to God, my reaction was, "You want me to be a broker? What are you kidding me?" These people have no ethics. They don't know what they're doing. They have no idea what's going on. You want me to do that?
Mm,
And but I came to see it as a very, very honorable thing.
mm-hmm.
And it's amazing the power of when you own your own business and you're speaking to a business owner as a
Yeah.
contemporary versus, some consultant. It's a
Yeah.
very different thing.
Yeah. Because you got the
I
background.
yeah, so I ask him, why are you doing this? Why are you making yourself crazy? Is this what you really want? I mean, what do
Mm-hmm.
you want as an owner?
Mm.
And there's ways to get there, and there's ways to look at business that people just
Wow.
don't teach you. They just
Now
don't teach you.
I love this story because there's so many entrepreneurs right now, especially with technology, and right after the COVID era, that are getting super successful with their business, and they're very young, right? They're in their
Yeah.
early 20s, and they're killing it. They're doing 5 million, 10 million. But the same problem you mentioned, a lot of them are running into it, right? Top line is looking amazing, but that earning, that cash flow, that profit, that margin, it doesn't look so good.
So that question has exactly what to do with what I spoke about and wrote about the last
Mm-hmm.
time we spoke, which was, where are you going?
Yeah.
Like, where are you going with your business? What's the plan? I mean, do you have an idea of what you want ultimately? And when you get some level of awareness as a business owner of really what the goal is,
Mm-hmm.
then you start to think about, well, okay, if my goal is selling the business, if that's really what I'm thinking about, so why don't I orient the business to those buyers so
Yeah.
that the things that because the difference between two businesses, they could have the exact same revenue, they can have the exact same product that they're selling or marketing, and the difference could be night and day in terms of valuation. And that difference is the way the owner is running that business.
Mm,
If they're running that business in a way that enables the new person to step in and
yeah.
run with it, that's great. You get more for that business. If they're running it in a way like I did, which the only person who could run it is Albert, then you're leaving money on the table. And
So
so you got to get business owners to start thinking a little bit about their plan, their goal. What's the vision for the business?
I got a couple questions for you, right?
Sure,
And
go right ahead. Anything you throw at me, I'm ready for it.
I know like entrepreneurs that's listening to this probably asking themselves, okay, the way you run this business, as a broker and you've been in that space, you've seen all type of companies being sold. Give us an example of like maybe a vertical where you've seen somebody killing it by the way they run it and they got a really nice exit, and one where, when they came to you, they thought they had a great business because they're making money, but it wasn't. So tell us more about like those two stories. One, how did they do it? What's the vertical? You don't need to say the name of the business. What was it
Sure,
like? And then the other one, the whole opposite.
sure. So I can give you 6 examples, but we don't have time, so I'll try to just a couple that I think your listeners will really appreciate. Um, Businesses that have a heavy inventory component or have a heavy component of what they call capital intensive,
Okay.
meaning they need a lot of cash. A lot of cash needs to be on the street. You need to house a lot of inventory, or maybe you need a lot of heavy equipment to make that revenue.
Gotcha.
Don't sell as well as businesses that are lighter. And so here I'm gonna give you the point. I'm
Yeah.
in contract right now on a business that sells for about 1.5 million in revenue. They have, that's how much their sales are.
Top line.
And they earn 600 to 700,000 on that revenue.
Okay.
Zero inventory.
Service base?
No, not service based. It's a business that personalizes product.
Okay.
So, so we have a lot of companies that are in that business, like the promotional space, right? So
Gotcha.
they'll sell you pens, they'll sell you things, and they, with your company's logo on it.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
these guys have a niche in the luxury market. So
Huh.
high-end leather jackets, high-end
Nice.
Apple Macintosh products, high-end, a lot of diverse products, but high-end, the things that a corporation, like let's say you're Boeing, and you really
Yeah.
want to give your clients something special.
Yeah.
So you'll spend whatever, $500, $1,000 on a really lovely leather attaché case or something like
Yeah.
that. So these people, the niche is the customer will send the product to this company. The company will personalize it
Got
and
it.
send it back. So it is a service business, but zero inventory
Huh.
and very, very low cash needs. They don't,
Yeah.
they're not fronting a lot of money. They're not holding a lot of inventory. They
Yeah.
don't need heavy equipment. So that business traded very well.
Got it.
As compared to another business in the distribution space that I also sold, which sold for they did $3 million in revenue. But to do that $3 million in revenue, you needed 1 million in inventory. You needed about $1 million on the street, meaning you got to give terms, 60 days,
Yeah.
90-day terms until
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
collect.
Account payable, account receivable.
And you needed money to procure the goods from overseas. So
Oh,
$3
wow.
million in inventory, earning the same amount, $600,000, $700,000.
Yeah.
But I need 2.5 million, maybe even $3 million just to operate that business.
I see.
Very, very low valuation. And we basically we sold it. We got him out for the value of the inventory.
Oh wow.
and
So it's like an
and
asset-based sales.
asset-based sale, and the seller couldn't be more thrilled, saying thank you, because when do you ever get that inventory out? When do you ever
Yeah.
take when do you ever get $1 million of inventory and turn it into liquidity? Never.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an example of two similar businesses, one trading so much higher than the other one just by virtue of the fact of the space that they're in.
Yeah.
Now, you say, well, look, they're in that space, that's the nature of the business. I won't debate that, yes, but this business owner who does the personalization could have gone the other way and been in the business of stocking 10,000 hats and selling that, but they chose to specialize, they chose to niche, and they chose a certain path for the business. The distributor, what could they possibly do as a business to turn
Yeah.
that ship? Is there some kind of proprietary product that they could
Mm-hmm.
bring in that's only theirs, that they could sell at higher margin? Is there some kind of recurring revenue component, some kind of contract, some kind of way that they could reduce the cash needs of that business? And if I'm a seller and I'm in that distribution business, I have to seriously be thinking about that 5 years out, 10 years out, because you can't
Mm.
turn that ship on a dime.
Yeah. Wow. No, that's valuable because a lot of us we don't think that far out. We don't even think sometimes that we're gonna sell the business. So
Most people who come to me, I'm ready. Then okay, we'll sell, but it is what it is. Nothing we can
yeah,
change.
yeah. Now, what would you like? You mentioned a few things here, right? Recurring revenue, making some type of contract is in place, making sure that the owner can run the business without them being in the business,
Yes,
right? Like,
you
do
remember
do
that
you
one.
have say again?
Yeah, you remember that one.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, do you kind of have like one of those checklists when you go when owners coming to you and said, okay, I'm ready to sell, that you go through and make sure that they meet all those, or you kind of like how do you make sure you engage with those
So
owners?
here's the magic. The magic
Yeah.
is, most businesses have some combination of something, a couple of things that are really good and a few things that are not so good
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't think about it. And so the magic that we do is when a business owner comes to me and says, I'm ready to sell, I'm working with what they have. So
Gotcha.
my real job is to go in there and find the value. So maybe they don't have the recurring revenue. Maybe the owner is too involved in the business. Maybe they have heavy cash flow needs. Does that mean that somebody won't want them?
Mm,
So I've got to find really what they have of value and then identify who would it be valuable to,
gotcha.
right? So what buyer would pay for those attributes? And then I try to make those connections. You could have a business, Gilbert, that's losing money,
Yeah,
but you know what? Their customer list is very valuable.
got it.
And or where they distribute is very valuable.
Yeah.
So company B would love to grab those customers or that distribution because they don't need all the other expenses and they could take just the good stuff, get rid of the stuff that's duplicate, and they have something very powerful in an acquisition. So the ultimately the answer is, from when I talk to business owners, is one, don't assume your business is not sellable. Let a
Mm,
professional look at it because we
okay.
don't know. And two, don't assume your business is worth the sky. It might not be. Let us look at it. Let us figure it out, because in the end, it's not what I say. It's not what you say. It's what the
Yeah.
market will bear. The
Yeah.
market determines the price.
Let's talk more about the buyer side now, right? Because sellers, you mentioned, hey, you got to build the business with the intention to sell. So you got to have the right mindset. You got to make sure that all these things are in place. Now, you also mentioned being able to pair them with the right buyer, right? So tell us more about the different level of buyers, right? Because we know there's buyers like you and I, but there's also institutional buyers. So talk to us about the tiers of buyers that you've seen in the marketplace, from that one man show to the big
Yeah.
boys.
And if you look at the market today, Gilbert, because interest rates have gone up,
Mm-hmm.
who is being squeezed out? You and I are being squeezed out.
Mm.
Like, we want to buy it because it costs us more. We don't have the
Yeah.
resources.
The loan is more, yeah.
But who is killing it? It's those institutional buyers. And we're talking about, I'll give you the tiers. You got family offices,
Mm-hmm.
search funds, private equity companies, public companies, right? There's four
Gotcha.
tiers. So family office could be a wealthy family. They've got money in the market, they've got disposable income, and they want a better return, right? The
Okay.
market will give you 5 to 10%, whatever it is. They don't have the stomach to do stuff with hedge funds for
Mm-hmm.
maybe a higher percentage. So they hire really smart guys from the best business schools who
Mm-hmm.
know how to analyze a company, and they say, okay, here's $5 million. Go purchase businesses and go figure out how to run them and go put it together and bring me value. That's a
Mm-hmm.
family office, right?
Got
We're
it.
managing family funds. Next step is a search fund where you've got again, these smart people who know how to analyze businesses, who have a group of investors that say, when you find something good, I'm in. And they have verbal commitments, this guy
Yeah.
for 10 million, this guy for 20 million, this guy for, and they're out there looking for the right businesses. And it's usually they're looking for 2 or 3 businesses that they can put together.
Gotcha.
Those guys are called search funds. Then you have the private equity companies.
Mm-hmm.
Private equity companies are professional money managers who have all of this money from these various wealthy investors,
Mm-hmm.
whose job it is to go out and build a lot of value. So rather than managing one family's money, they're managing money
Yeah.
for 30, 40, 50 families.
Gotcha.
And, big names in private equity, Blackstone, people
Yeah.
like that are the bigger guys that you
KKR.
hear about. So the area that your listeners are in, and the people I talk to, are usually the businesses are too small for the private equity companies.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? Private equity companies all have portfolio companies. These are
Yeah.
the $100-200 million companies that they purchased, and now they look for add-ons to those companies.
Gotcha.
So they'll take $1 million company, a $2 million. If it makes sense, they'll throw it in there and build it and build it. So we talk to all of these people, and
Mm.
this is what I mean when I talk about orienting your business. No, who is your customer?
Yeah.
If your customer is one of those guys, there really are things you need to do as a business in terms of how you keep your financials, how you run your company, if you want to be attractive to them. And why do you want to be attractive to them? They pay the highest multiples.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I get it. You also mentioned public company, right?
Sure.
So you mentioned public company as the top tiers of top tiers. So tell us a bit more about that. Is it they have a private equity team, or how does
No,
that
well,
work?
no. Public companies have generally a lot of money because they went public. They raised a lot of money from the
Yeah.
individuals, and they usually have an internal business development acquisition team that looks for acquisitions. And
Gotcha.
they have the power to either buy the acquisition with cash, or they can offer shares because they're public,
Yeah.
which sometimes is very powerful when we're bidding versus a company that's going to buy it for money versus a company that's buying it for stock.
Mm.
It's a very powerful thing because of tax structure and because of when you can sell those shares and all that. So, if you could be attractive to a public company, nothing better.
Let us talk a bit more about that, right? Because you said something here, tax structure. A lot of people thinking, okay, I have this business, I'm growing it to 5 million, and I'm gonna sell it for cash and get, $10 million all cash. You mentioned something here about the tax structure when you get acquired by a company that's focused more on stocks and equity than cash. Tell us more about that.
Okay, so Gilbert, the message is you need your professionals, right?
Mm,
If you're thinking of selling your company, how are you not talking to your accountant about what your tax liability is going to be when you sell that company?
gotcha.
And you'd be surprised how many business owners have no idea that if they sell for $10 million, they might have to pay 30, 32%, 35% in tax.
Yeah.
So that 10 million is 7 million, like that. So again, That's why you talk to the professionals. There are things you can do as a business that you work out with your accountant and your financial planner to mitigate that. So, but one of those things is you only get taxed when you take the money, right?
Okay.
If
Interesting.
if I owe you the money, you don't pay tax on it. You pay when you get it.
Yeah, like a
So
note.
like a note, like an earn out, like some kind of deferral strategy. There's all kinds of things that the financial planners and the accountants can put in place. I don't want to talk about that because
Yeah.
it's not what I do, but I know of them, and I know that the business owner needs to be thinking about it so that they're not surprised. Maybe, let's say their sale is $5 million and they planned out their retirement. They know they need $5 million to retire, but they didn't count on the fact that they're going to pay 35% in taxes. Well, that just threw a monkey wrench into the whole thinking. And it's preventable, right? There are things you need to know about these things before you go down that line. But even if you never planned and you didn't know, and it is what it is, there's still things you can do,
Yeah.
right? There's things called opportunity zones. You've heard about 1031 exchange.
Yes, yes.
So that's going away for real estate and for business, but there's places like known as opportunity zones, meaning if you invest money in the opportunity zone, you can defer the taxes for a period of time. There's a lot more rules to it, but there's something called deferred sales trusts. So you take
Okay.
the money, put it into a trust,
Trust.
let somebody invest it. They have to invest it according to your wishes, but you
Yeah.
need that independence, and that defers you paying tax on that
Wow.
money because you didn't take the money, you put it in a trust.
Yeah, that is golden, my friend.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff like that.
Now I love it. So we're running out of time. We may have to have you come back for a third time.
Anytime, and there's I have no shortage of conversation topics. But
So
I want to tell you, because it's just so important. It's the market. It's the market. It's the market. It's the market. We do not know, as smart as I think I am, I do not know what a company is going to sell for until we get out there and we see what the market says, right? And so very often we could talk about a lot of this stuff, and ultimately, the market will reward you or the market won't reward you.
yeah.
But your chances are better for a better outcome if you've planned.
Before I let you go, two more questions, right? When
Yeah,
we're
sure.
talking about the market, I want people to really grab this. So let's say they have a business that's doing, X amount of dollars, and their asking price is maybe 2 million. You guys put it out in the market, and they're not getting an offer for 2 million. They're getting an offer for 1 million. Is that what you mean when you said the market?
Mhm.
Got it. Got it. I want people to fully understand it.
That means I showed it to you and you said, how is this worth 2 million? I think this is only worth 1 million. I'm going to offer 1 million.
Gotcha.
You know,
Now this is
so
fantastic. So how do people get in touch with you, right? Because you put out some amazing content. You in our newsletter, Elevation Circle newsletter, people love your content. They're opening it. So how do people get in touch with you if they're thinking about selling their business, or they're like, okay, I'm not selling my business right now, but I want to start prepare myself for it, or they're thinking about, I want to find out what my business actually value. Like, how do they get in touch with you?
the best way is to shoot me an email. It's Albert, Albert, at kensingtoncompany.com. Just the way it sounds. When I reply, I offer anybody a 20-minute consultation, no charge. They can book an appointment with me on Calendly, and I'm happy
Gotcha.
to have a conversation. If I can
Yeah.
help orient them in any way, I'm happy to do that, because I believe in karma. I believe it always comes back. So
Yeah.
that's the best way. So either that or my phone, which is 516-626-2211.
Fantastic. Guys, reach out to Albert. He is amazing. He knows what he's talking about, an expert in a space. Thank you for jumping on, and we'll see you next time.
Anytime, Gilbert. Thank you. Take care.